All right, what up? It's the Man to Man Boys. Just realized we didn't do an intro for this interview with Bruce Buffer. If you clicked on the video, you already know who we're interviewing for Season 4, Episode 3. Little context behind this. Bruce Buffer was actually our second interview that we had lined up in Los Angeles. He was the only one out of Jorge and Lauren that was going to be a Zoom interview. So he was going to be the next day after Jorge. I guess we messed up. Sometimes we don't know what's going on, and I guess we sent him the wrong link. So we didn't get the content that we wanted. It was about a 15-minute interview. We looked at it afterwards. We said, we're not going to be putting this out, yada, yada. So we rescheduled the interview, and it's actually just me interviewing Bruce Buffer. Liam had work, but that's the context. Super cool interview, quick pace. Bruce Buffer, there's a lot going on with him. Quick housekeeping notes. Get your damn merch. It's how you can support the pod. Click the link in the description. I'm rocking the merch right now. We've got a couple of different cool items in there. Once we can get some merch sold, we can come out with cooler designs like we used to with the LeBron versus Jordan design that everyone loved. But use code MIXFREE at the checkout to receive free shipping. And we're borderline impossible to find on Spotify. It's really freaking annoying because the other man-to-man podcasts haven't came out with an episode in years. And I think Spotify does it where it's like the more ratings and reviews you have, the better. So please rate, review. We're trying to get to 1K on YouTube. YouTube subscribers, that's the goal. Road to 1K. I'm going to get out of here and let you guys get into the interview with Bruce Buffer. Enjoy the show. UFC superstar Jorge Gamebred Masvidal, dude. What's going on, baby?
What's up, everybody?
Alrighty, what up, everybody? Welcome into Man to Man Podcast. Today we're switching things up and talking man to woman. Please welcome on the show singer, songwriter, social media star Lauren Gray. We know you like the DJs.
I am okay.
$1.99 for a banana bag, bro.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Man to Man Podcast. Today we're privileged to have another legend on the show, known as the voice of the UFC. Please welcome in Bruce Buffer. Bruce, how are we? Thank you for coming on, brother.
Hi, Liam. Doing well. Coming off 2 big UFCs and getting ready for the big one in Boston the next week. So
I was
that and a million other things.
I was gonna say, Bruce, we're some Nashville boys, and we were in LA last week. I kind of saw highlights of the fight in Nashville. I heard it was a great fight leading up to the main event. Nonetheless, I'm wearing the suit, Bruce, and this is kind of like a joke for us. We just wanted to dress up for you. Saw the emerald green and black, so I guess I just got to ask you, man, how many suits do you have, and then how do you pick what suit you're wearing on each fight night, man?
Well, in actuality, I don't really know how many suits I have. Let's just say it's probably around 70 or more.
Okay.
Give or take. What I can tell you is that many of the suits are designed specifically for a brand new show, and I wear it one time.
Okay.
When I get back, the tuxedo or the jacket will go to the rear of the closet, make its way forward until I want to wear it again, which could be like a year or so or more from the time that I wore it. I do have a couple of the classic all black James Bond type tuxedos, which I wear, about every 6 or 7 shows. But it's a variety. It depends. If I go to Canada, I want to wear red. If I go to Ireland, I want to hopefully wear some shade of green. England, I wore a royal blue. Like whatever I can capture with the theme. So sometimes I'll stand in my closet rather, and I'll look and I can't make up my mind.
Yeah. And does it go with the watches too? With the suit, you got to have like a certain watch with a certain type of suit.
I'm
suit. Not
quite that distinguished because I'm a Rolex fan. Otherwise, I'd be spending my whole bank account on Rolexes. But I've got 3 watches that I wear, but I mainly there you go.
Oh, okay. I got you right here. Let's go. Hey, Bruce, I want to talk to you about just being in Nashville again. Obviously, the first fight was, I believe, in 2019, which I think it was a knockout in that main event. I just saw people were kind of booing. The main event was kind of like a grappling thing. I think the guy got hurt after the first round. But I just kind of ask you, we're not really a UFC podcast, and I don't know a lot about it, but does taking a guy on the ground like that for like 19 minutes hurt a city's chance of bringing the UFC back to that city? I'm just curious.
No, the fight has nothing to do with the city. The fight has to do with, put it this way, the fight is there for the city. The fans showed up and sold out the arena.
Yeah.
That's all we need to know. that they love the UFC to go back. And obviously they've gone back to Nashville. Now, I'm not the powers that be. I don't make those decisions.
Yeah.
But the energy of the Nashville crowd, Nashville's an amazing city. Had some good meals when I was there. Everybody wants the UFC, but there's only so many shows per year. There's only so many places we can go.
Right.
Sure, we're going to go back to Nashville. I have no doubt.
Right. Everyone's loving it, man. Everyone from Los Angeles is moving here, man. It's crazy. I'm from here, and they're like,
my best friend is there. One of my best friends is there. I had dinner with him Friday and Saturday night. It's a lot of people moving there.
Is he? Okay, let's talk about another anticipating fight that took place on the same night that you were in Nashville announcing that fight. Jake Paul, Nate Diaz. Did you get a chance to watch it? Did you get a chance to watch the highlights at least?
I saw bits and pieces. I saw the highlights. Saw a couple of full rounds.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. You can ask me.
I was just going to say, does Nate go back again into the octagon with Jake, or how well do you think Jake even held himself against Nate?
Well, the two-part question. The first thing I can tell you is that let's face it, Nate is he's a boxer. He can box, but he's not a boxer. Okay. He's an MMA fighter, and he's a fighter. Mm-hmm. I thought it pretty well went to be expected. Jake is fighting. The last time he fought a real boxer who wasn't, with all respect, one of the best boxers out there, he lost. Okay. He's handpicking his opponents very well. Mm-hmm. Anybody can win at any given moment in a fight. He's becoming a hell of a promoter in his own right, whether I agree with the way he handles himself or not. He's bringing young eyeballs to the sport of boxing that would never, or are not watching boxing as normal. They're watching UFC, or they're not watching any fights, whatever. So in that respect, to the sport of boxing, that's great, because most boxing fans are older, that watch heavy amongst fans, amongst Latinos, young Latinos, they're all into boxing, which is great. They have a lot of heroes in boxing, as well as they're into the UFC. So there's a lot of benefits coming from it. It was, I guess, if people were entertained, that's fine. Nate was Nate, and he lost as Nate loses, talks as Nate talks, walks as Nate walks. And to me, it was all to be expected. I mean, basically, Nate Diaz is 2 weight classes lower. He's 40 years old, still quite capable of being a monster that he is. But I want to see him back in the octagon.
You kind of mentioned the sport of boxing, and maybe like an older audience keeps up with that sport of boxing, and some people are getting, I guess, disappointed that maybe Jake Paul is hurting the sport of boxing. You got guys like Mike Tyson that's like, he's saving the sport of boxing. He's putting people in seats. It was the second biggest pay-per-view behind UFC, I believe 277 post-pandemic back in Dallas right there.
Which was the highest? Which was the highest?
Correct. What are your thoughts on that?
Which was the highest pay-per-view?
Which was the highest pay-per-view ever?
No, you just said that it was the highest behind UFC, whatever.
I'm sorry. Second highest behind UFC 277. That's that fight against. Yep.
What was the Jake Paul Nate Diaz fight?
I think it was like 3.1 million, and then the UFC 277 was 4.45.
The Jake Paul Nate Diaz fight did 3.1 million buys reportedly.
That's what I read online.
If that's true, then, and I hope Nate got a piece of the action for the pay-per-view. That's a very huge mark.
Yeah. That's what it said. So I'm just keeping up with the research. I don't know.
But I guarantee you the reason that it did that is because the UFC fans wanted to see Nate Diaz.
Correct. Right. So they both kind of promoted it very well. I'm just watching the face-to-face against Nate Diaz. And again, I didn't grow up really on UFC, but I'm just wondering, like, how is this guy like a free agent? And if he loses, he still wants to fight, or he's like a free agent, he wants to go back to UFC. Is there a point in time? I'm just thinking for this guy specifically to maybe kind of call it quits at some point here soon.
There's a point where everybody has to call it quits, but it's a matter of when they want to call it quits. But if you're in a position like Nate Diaz and somebody's throwing, 10 million, 5 million, 2 million, whatever at you to walk in and do what you do. I mean, he pretty much fought the fight he wanted to fight. Right. I don't know how hard he trained for the fight. It's a money grab at this point. I mean, is Nate Diaz out there to become the champion of the UFC? I don't think so.
Yeah.
He's out there to fight Conor McGregor in a trilogy, which will do what?
Numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Numbers.
Exactly.
And he'll have the pleasure of fighting Conor McGregor again, which I'm sure he'd love to do.
Yeah. Speaking of celebrity boxing, I kind of heard it on your latest podcast with Kevin Holland, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk. Do you think this actually happens?
Yeah, I do think it happens.
Okay. What's the type of fighting style there, do you think?
MMA.
Oh, it's MMA. Okay.
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, if they try to uh, modify the rules in any way, I mean, that's not my call. You know, listen. I'm a mercenary soldier. Okay, they
Yeah.
point, I shoot. Okay, I do my job. My trust is in Dana White. You know, he's an amazing maverick of a businessman. He's got us to where we are today, along with everything else that he has at his disposal. And from everything I've seen, heard, talked without saying, I mean, I think this will happen at some point. Now, if it happens, it's got to be on a big card.
Yeah.
Won't be the main event, and it could be surpassing 4.1 million buys. Now you said that 4.1 billion buys was for what? UFC 277.
Yes,
What was that?
4.45 million.
Which one was that? Was that Conor and who?
That I do not know.
It was Conor McGregor, though, I'm sure.
Okay. It must have been, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about would you ever call a Jake Paul fight, or is that just like against Dana White's like thing, or you would just never do it? I'm just curious.
I won't call Jake Paul fight in boxing. I don't think I'll ever be asked to, because he's going to make deals with people like Jimmy Lennon, who's fine boxing announcers and contracted the people, or they brought him in, or I'd probably rather put my brother in. You know, I manage the great Michael Buffer, and I'd rather put him in to do it. That's his world. Not that I haven't done boxing or appreciate it or could do it. I'm allowed to do whatever I want, except for MMA, because I'm exclusive to the UFC for MMA.
Right.
In respect to the Paul brothers, something I would enjoy doing is a one-off and announcing Logan Paul in the WWE.
I was going to say Logan Paul, breaking news I just came out with. He's fighting Dylan Dennis in a boxing match October 15th.
That'll be a highly watched fight again.
Yeah. Let's get into you going to Boston, another big fight. Aljamain Sterling and Sugar Sean O'Malley. I'm not really going to ask you like who you got. Obviously, you're probably not going to tell me.
I have one answer always. May the best man or woman win. So.
Okay. What I kind of just want to ask you, man, what does it mean to be the voice of a UFC in a sport that puts out must-see fights every single month? Like, what does it feel like? I know you started in UFC 8 and then kind of went full-time in 13. Then now we're at 292. I mean, what does it mean for you to just kind of be this voice and everyone looks at you in this octagon before these big fights?
Well, I'm completely humbled and honored by it. Every morning I wake up and put my feet on the ground. I take great pride in the fact that I have the UFC written on my chest. I walk around with it right on my chest, you know?
Do you have like a pre-ritual that you do, like a pre-fight ritual that, you eat, you wake up, you say it's time in the mirror? What do you have?
Well, that's actually, you probably read or saw where in an interview where I used to say it's time all the time, still do. In the morning, I'm shaving. It's time to have a great day. It's time to be the best I can be. And that's what led up to my want to create It's Time in the main event, because people have been sitting here for 5 hours or more watching, and fighters are training 8 weeks and watching. And I just give it 8 weeks and are in there putting their blood, sweat, and tears on the line. It's time. I mean, this is the moment it's all come down to, and the moment we've all been waiting for. I kind of lost track here. Oh, the ritual. I get a good night's sleep.
Yeah,
I love getting a good night's sleep before. And I wake up, I have a power breakfast, do a workout, meditation, get my cards all together, get prepared, and I don't rehearse. I never rehearse. I'll make sure I have the names correct. Mm-hmm. And outside of that, when I walk in the arena and I feel the energy of the crowd, that's what gets me going.
How do you prepare your voice to roar like that every single week? Because I'm kind of like I write scripts and do VOs like every single day for this company that I work for. How do you get your voice? Do you just take days and relax, or how do you get your voice prepared for every single weekend like that?
Well, your voice is like a tool. It's like a muscle. So I am sorry. Mm-hmm. It's like a muscle, and being a muscle, you need to, over time, it gets strong. It becomes a tool. So you just don't abuse it. You don't abuse your body. You shouldn't abuse your body. You shouldn't put things in your body that are going to make you feel worse. And at the same time, you take care of your throat. You take care of everything. It's the way it has to be.
Right. I've got some thyroid problems here in the past. I went to go get it checked out. They said it's okay. I'm like, are you sure? All right, here we go. So we're cruising. Bruce, for our audience that just obviously doesn't know, I know you get this question every single time in an interview. Do you mind just telling us how you reconnected with your half brother, Michael Buffer?
Well, in a really long story cut short, I never knew I had a half brother, as you know. And when he became famous on TV and came out, during the heyday of boxing, when Mike Tyson was bringing boxing back as the water cooler conversation on a Monday morning, the way the UFC is today, I was raised around the boxing world. I was watching boxing right out of the womb. And it was a big thing with my family to watch Tuesday night fights and uh, uh, wide world of sports and all that. We were always into boxing, and I boxed and I started martial arts when I was 12, and competed, fought the whole bit. And basically, when Michael came out, here comes this debonair James Bond looking individual changing the world of announcing and boxing with his grand voice and his trademark phrase, or his phrase, "Let's get ready to rumble." And I became a big fan. But when they put his name on the screen, it's like, wow, Buffer. I was in I owned telemarketing companies in my 20s. And before the internet, we had every phone book in the United States. And as a natural thing, you look in the phone book to see if your last name's in there. I never saw my last name in any phone book. So when I saw the name on the screen, I'm like, wow, that's crazy. He's really handsome. It's not like we look alike, but it's like, whoa, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And intrigued by his job and the whole mystique of the whole thing. So I started calling Don King's offices, Bob Arum's offices, and finding out information on him. And people would walk up to me and say, "Hey, is that your brother, the guy that goes, 'Let's get ready to rumble'?" And I go, "No, my brother's Brian, who I grew up with and is my brother." So Michael is my half brother. And the way I found out is I was driving with my dad, and I used to ask him about the guy. But one time I really got firm. I said, "Dad, everybody's coming up to me. Do you have any idea who this guy is?" And he said, "I think that's your brother." And he told me the story about how he was married during World War II and at 20 years old, and went overseas, and a divorce ensued when he came back, and a child was born during that short period they were married. And it's just one of those things. I don't look down on my dad for it. It's one of those things that happened. And Michael was raised by foster parents under the name of Huber. But when he went in the Army at 20, they never formally adopted him or changed his birth certificate. So he's Michael Buffer. And they said, "No, you're not Michael Huber, you're Michael Buffer." Had that not happened, our paths would have never crossed. And he was doing a fight out here in LA at a small place called the Reseda Country Club. And my brother Brian and I had him call, suggested he call and leave a message. And he did. And Michael called him back. They got together for lunch and turned out to be his son. And then we met and got along great. 4 years later, I sold 2 companies. I was making incredible money and beach house, living the 2.5 men lifestyle minus the alcoholism. And I just was burned out on what I was doing. And I gave everything up to take over and be his manager and his partner and trademark the phrase properly. And told him I'd put him in everywhere in sports and entertainment, make movies, TV, toys, films, you name it, all based and licensing. Let's get ready to rumble and this, that, and the other. He's like, "How are you going to do all that?" I go, "I don't know." I'm not sure. But if I'm going to give all this up, I'll figure it out. And that was 30 some years ago.
Right. Yeah. And so then it sounds like you're managing him. And then this is when you kind of transition into your own person into the UFC, correct? Is that how that?
Well, I wanted to become an announcer. I wanted to announce. I had interest in announcing boxing, but it was a confliction of interest, and there's no money in it. He's the only one really making any money. So I said, that's okay. Something else will come along. And then when the UFC came along, I got him in the UFC for 3 shows. And I had to pull him because of a big contract with WCW Wrestling. And I don't think it could have continued at the pace the UFC was going. And it took me a year and a half, and I worked my way into the UFC and started at Bayamon, Puerto Rico, doing the prelims at UFC 8.
And how much maybe can you credit the show Friends for landing this dream job?
That gave me a lot of bartering power, because when the owner, Robert Myers at the time, called me up and said, "Hey, do you want to co-star on Friends?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." He goes, "Well, we're doing a show with them. They're using a voiceover, but they want the real announcer." And I said, "Great." So they Warner Brothers sent a runner down to get audio and tape. They called me up, said they're rehearsing all day Tuesday, be on the set at 6 a.m, film all day Wednesday. I called the owner up and said, "I need to meet you, talk to you while you're there." So we talked, and I basically told him, I said, "I feel like a girl waiting to be asked to go to the prom.
Yeah.
I've done everything. I've flown into New York. I've done everything I can to convince you that you need a buffer in the octagon. I've got the media contacts you don't have. People are scared of you. I can get you on shows like Jay Leno and a bunch of other things that I, did that they pay PR people hundreds of thousands of dollars to do. And I did it all for free because I wanted to help build the brand. I said, let me be the announcer. I will help you build the brand."
Right.
And, but this is the last time I'm going to ask him. And he agreed, and we came to terms. And that was like, I'm a big poker player. That's like the best poker hand I ever played in my life.
Yeah, I was going to say, we got a couple more for you here. Let's just talk about your professional poker player career. Yeah, it sounds like you're a world-rated professional poker player on the world circuit. When did you start to get involved with poker?
I got involved back in heavily in 2015. Wait, no, excuse me, 2005, I think. I got to go back. It was when Chris Moneymaker won the World Series. Then I went ahead and I got in the World Series after that, and it was around like I was a player on Full Tilt. I've been a player on Poker Stars. If you go to cardplayer.com, you can look me up and see the amount of money I've won on the pro circuit, the titles I've won, the whole bit. Like you can find out tennis player winnings.
Yeah.
And it's just an area that I love. I love playing against the pros. I've played against everyone you can imagine. You know, I love playing against Daniel Grano. I love playing against Phil Hellmuth. I love pissing him off.
I was going to ask if you ever played with those guys before.
Oh yeah, I played with
Phil Ivey. Yeah.
Yeah, Phil. I have not. I know Phil, but I haven't played with Phil yet.
Okay.
Love to play with Phil. So to me, it's like a fight. You know, you're standing across from somebody. They bleed, they breathe, they have a heart just like we do. So they're human. So yeah, it's five. Like Mike Sexton said, takes 5 minutes to learn, but a lifetime to master.
Yeah.
And I'm still mastering it.
What's the biggest swing you've ever had in your poker career? Do you have a moment?
You mean like money wise?
Yeah, like maybe just at one sitting at a table.
Well, I mean, there's so many. I mean, it's like I don't like talking about the money that I play or win. I mean, have I been in, $5-figure, $10,000 plus hands? Yes, of course I have.
Yeah. Or is there maybe like a moment that I know you play with a high level of patience. Is there a moment in your poker career where that paid off? Do you have a moment that stands out there for you?
I have a lot of moments, but one moment that stands out that's not the best moment, but it's still a good moment was when I was playing the World Series in 2015. I think the last time I played, I got to day 5. I was in the top 10% of players. People were calling me a dark horse. And I came up in one hand where I pulled back pock. It was day 5, right before the first break. I had 550,000 chips. You start off with 10 or 20,000 back then. I forget what it was. Uh-huh. And I peeled back pocket aces on the button. And the guy under the gun raised, and I called his raise, and the flop came 10-8-10, right? No, I raised his raise. I re-raised him pre-flop. Of course, as you have to do with pocket aces. One thing about pocket aces is that you only want to play against one player. You want to push everybody out on the flop. If you don't, you're going to lose the hand 66% of the time.
Okay.
You got to know your numbers.
Okay.
So,
noted.
Don't think it's going to last all the way to the river. You'll get busted more times than not.
Okay.
So with that, I raised, and the flop came 10-8-10. I bet out. He raised me, right?
Yep.
Okay. No, excuse me. I bet out. He called, right? Then a king came. So I bet out, and he raised me all in, right?
Yep.
And I only had about 160,000 chips left.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured, okay, if he flopped a set, he would have raised on that. If he has ace king, he wouldn't have played this the way he played. So, I went through all those scenarios. But the bottom line is it would have put me in the top 10 players chip leading wise. I would have been about 1.2 million chips or more. So I called, and he flopped quad eights. He flopped 4 8s.
Oh.
So I wound up winning 27,000 and change.
Yeah.
Then I went back to LA, and the Hustler Casino here had a tournament. 2 weeks later, I entered against 1,500 plus people for $250, and I got first place.
Wow!
I beat them all for 75,000. So that was a winning. That was a pretty big mark.
That's hilarious.
I don't like talking numbers because it's not like I'm sitting here rolling in cash or something like that. I just people are out there busting their ass for $300, $500 paychecks a week, and God bless them all. Right. Yeah. So I don't like throwing those kind of numbers out, but you asked me and I told you.
No, I've never been to a casino. So, I mean, I played online slots and casinos, but I think it's all rigged, and I'm just trying to play, everything on black or red. So I'm still just trying to figure it out.
Black or red's 50-50. That's okay. Baccarat is the highest odds. Blackjack can be a good game.
Yeah.
Poker is play the player, not the cards.
Right.
The one-arm bandits, that's why they're called one-arm bandits. Not that people don't win. I've seen people win big on it, but even Dana White will tell you what.
Yeah. All right, Bruce, I got 2 more for you. Thanks for sticking with us. If you could get stuck in an elevator with a current UFC fighter for 10 more seconds, who would you choose? We're kind of referring to this Frank Trigg moment.
Oh, if I'm going to fight him?
Yeah.
Let me just say, I don't care to be in an elevator and fight any more UFC fighters. I mean, if I got to do what I got to do, I don't pretend to be the toughest guy in the world. It's just bottom line. You should always stand up for yourself. And that's exactly what I did in that situation.
Mm-hmm. And then last one here, man to man, what is the key to success?
BSC, my bufferism, balls, skill, and confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Know your game, have the information. So like I say in my podcast, when you step out of that yellow brick road, you perform at your best, you be your best, whether you're number one or champion or 10. In fact, you're performing your best, then you're winning. But the big thing is to patience, confidence, and know your game. Do your homework.
Yep.
And believe in yourself. Believe
trying
in
to
yourself.
make some money off it too, right?
Well, yeah. One of the key things too is if you can find what you're passionate about and monetize it, then when the problems hit, when you have the rough times in business and stuff like that, you'll be able to pick yourself off the ground, step forward, and throw punches harder than ever, like Rocky says.
I love it. And then anything you want to plug here? I know you got some cologne. I'm single, trying to find a girlfriend. If I could use some, or you got some alcohol, what do you want to plug here, Bruce?
Well, I will say that my It's Time cologne is the top selling cologne on Amazon in the United States. It's in 30 countries in Europe. It'll be in all the stores here in the United States coming very soon. Mm-hmm. This is a very sensual, charismatic scent. Why not just put it on properly? Women love this. Trust me. Okay. Uncle Bruce is giving you a little advice. Go to Amazon, get your It's Time cologne. It's an $80 bottle, but it's selling for $49.95, I think, on Amazon.
Okay, cool.
And it lasts all the time. Really a great thing. And then take them out for a little drink, a little puncher's chance, which is the top rated the top 5 best sipping bourbon in America at its price range right now. You can get this in all the stores. Just go to puncherschanceBourbon.com, put in your zip code, find out where you can buy it near you, or order off the site, have it delivered to your house. And I come out with a 12-year reserve, a 14 reserve, and I just came out with the undisputed single barrel version, which won a platinum award coming right out of the gate. And this has already won about 5 gold medals and another 5 for design of the bottle. So I'm very happy. It's doing really incredibly well. Yeah. And like I always like to say, I want to show Connor how to do it the proper way. So
okay, I love it.
I'm kidding.
It sounds like that's a combination I need for a Friday night, my brother.
Yeah. Yes. No, it is. But follow me on Instagram at Bruce Buffer UFC. I announce everything. There's a whole line of toiletries coming out, and then very soon, in about 2 months or less, you're going to hear about the greatest, most natural, finest energy drink on the market.
Let's go.
No crash. No crap and no crash.
No crap and no
crash. You drink four cans of this a day, no crash. Even Jeff Novitzky with soda. He likes it too.
I'm a big energy drink guy.
This is going to be a big one.
I was going to say I'm a big energy drink guy, so I'm looking for something new and not all this crap that I'm probably drinking.
Start with this, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. All righty. Bruce Buffer on the Man to Man podcast. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll look forward to what suit you're going to be wearing on UFC 292. Do you know what suit you're wearing yet or no?
For Boston, no, I'm not quite sure.
Okay, well, we'll be.
I'll make a nice decision for that one. I'll be a little flashy so I can compare myself to Sean O'Malley.
All right, thank you so much, Bruce Buffer, for your time. We appreciate it, man.
All right, thank you, Liam. You take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.